If you run a local or service business, this video might save you months of wasted effort because Google just published a new official guide explaining how to optimize for AI search, and inside that document they clearly state, from Google's search perspective, optimizing for generative AI search is optimizing for the search experience and thus still SEO. That line alone clears up a huge amount of confusions. Over the last year, business owners have been bombarded with new AI marketing terms: GEO, AEO, AI SEO, llms.txt, chunking, AI schema. At some point, it starts sounding like you need a NASA engineering team just to rank a plumbing website. So I went directly to Google's newly published documentation to see exactly what they are saying about AI search. And after reading the entire guide, the message is pretty straightforward. Google is treating AI search as part of search, not as a completely separate marketing system businesses suddenly need to master from scratch. Nothing new here. In this video, I want to break down the most important parts of that document in plain English so you understand what matters according to Google, what Google says you can ignore, and what this means for small businesses trying to stay visible online as AI search expands. One of the most important parts of the document is where Google explains how these AI systems actually work. Google explains that AI systems still pull information from Google search before generating answers. This is what you need to know. In simple terms, when somebody asks AI a question, the system often searches the web first, gathers information from multiple websites, and then builds a response using those sources. That's called Retrieval Augmented Generation, RAG. So even though people are interacting with AI tools, the information is still coming from websites that Google trusts and understands. Google also explains that AI systems break searches into multiple related searches behind the scene, query one out. Here's a practical example. If somebody searches how much does it cost to repair a roof, the AI system may also look for related topics like roofing material costs, labor pricing, roof lifespan, signs of roof damage, and repair versus replacement options. The system expands the search to build a more complete answer. That matters because your business website still needs useful, relevant information connected to real customer questions. Another major part of Google's document focuses on the type of content they want businesses to create. Google says, create valuable non-commodity content for your audience. Then they explain what that means. Google specifically recommends providing a unique point of view. They also say, create the content yourself based on what you know about the topic. That is incredibly important for local and service businesses because small businesses already have something AI generated content cannot replicate: real world experience. If you own a service business, you already understand the concerns people have before hiring your business. You've dealt with real projects, solved real problems, and answered the same customer questions hundreds of times. That experience naturally creates more useful content than generic articles repeating the same information already published everywhere else online. Google directly warns against that type of content. In the document, they say, don't just recycle what others on the internet have already said or could easily be produced by a generative AI model. And you can already feel this happening online. A lot of AI generated content sounds polished at first, but after a minute, you realize it says the exact same thing as 10 of the articles you already read earlier that day. Meanwhile, a business owner explaining a real situation, showing real examples, or sharing actual experience immediately feels more useful and more trustworthy. Google also spends part of the guide addressing many of the AI optimization tactics people have been talking about recently. This is probably the section that surprised people the most. Google specifically says you do not need rewriting content specifically for AI systems. I consider that correct. Since AI understands nuances of human language, why would we need to write content for AI systems? Not to mention, the final target of the content is the human user. It's not AI who pays our businesses. Humans chunking content into teeny pieces. Except the visual formatting that was already required by users for a good reading experience, chunking specifically for AI is not needed. Special AI text files or llms.txt files. This is interesting. Google's search team says they are not needed. Google's Lighthouse team says they check for llms.txt by default to identify sites with errors. My advice is to use the LLM text. We are not sure it helps, but as long as it doesn't do any damage, why not? Plus, it's easy to set up. If you have WordPress, for example, it's a click of a button in Rust and some 10 minutes reviewing the file. For small business owners, this should simplify the conversation considerably. Most businesses do not need another complicated system added on top of everything else they already manage every day. Google is basically telling businesses to focus on creating useful websites instead of chasing every experimental AI tactic circulating online. And that's absolutely true. You need to have the SEO foundation correctly in place first and foremost. Also, if you have the means and budget to make tests, I would encourage you to do that, but very selectively. Because for now, traditional SEO is probably enough. But things are changing fast, and in the next several months or next year, that might not be the case. If you don't have the possibility to make tests, pick a couple of experts that you feel you can trust and follow their advice when they will have proven tactics that work and implement those. Now, that does not mean technical SEO disappears. Google still talks about crawlable websites, indexing, site structure, page experience, usability, images, and organized content. Google literally says, build and maintain a clear technical structure. They also say, provide a good page experience for those who arrive at your site. None of this is new. If a website is confusing, outdated, difficult to navigate, or slow, visitors leave. Search systems notice that behavior because users' experience has always mattered. Google also repeatedly emphasizes readability and organization. They recommend organizing content in a way that helps your readers. And they specifically mention headings that provide a clear structure to navigate content. This is critical because both users and search systems need context to understand your business. When somebody lands on your website, they should immediately understand what services you provide, who you help, where you work, and why somebody should trust your company. Google also spends time discussing images and videos. They say, add high quality images and video. This is especially important for local and service businesses because visuals build trust very quickly. Real project photos, videos explaining your process, before and after examples, visual proof of your work. These things help people feel more confident contacting your business and prove authenticity. Such behavior is also becoming more visual and conversational. People are asking longer questions or using voice search more frequently, uploading images, continuing searches with follow-up questions. The easier your website makes it for people to understand your experience, the easier it becomes for search systems to understand your businesses. Another important section of the document warns businesses not to create endless pages targeting every tiny keyword variation. Google says creating content primarily to manipulate rankings violates Google's scaled content abuse ban policy. This cannot be contested, and as I always say, history has proved this countless times. If you are trying shortcuts to trick the algorithm, sooner or later an algorithm update will hit you. This matters because many businesses still believe they need hundreds or thousands of pages to compete online, and they need to scale content, but users want quality, not volume. Google's own guidance points much more toward quality, usefulness, and relevance. At the end of the day, the biggest takeaway from this newly published Google document is very simple. Google is still rewarding experience, expertise, trust, relevance, useful information, and a good experience for users. AI search did not suddenly erase everything businesses already understood about SEO. According to Google's own documentation, visibility in AI search still comes back to creating genuinely useful websites people trust and want to engage with. And for small businesses, that is actually encouraging news. If this video helped simplify the conversation around AI search, let me know in the comments what part of SEO or AI visibility has felt the most confusing lately. And if you want to better understand how Google evaluates helpful content and website quality overall, watch this video next because it connects directly to everything we discussed here.